Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to everybody. And it is time for Troop Talk Live. Angelique, I think we should call this the Double A show. I'm Aaron. I'm with Angelique. Double A.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today. Now, I have a question for you, Angelique. And to the folks watching, I did not tell her I was going to ask this question. So this is a live, spontaneous question. Do you know what today is, Angelique?
No, I don't. What's today?
Today is the first day of summer. It is the summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year. It's 90 degrees, a cool 90 degrees where I am. I don't know how it is where you are.
Same. It's 90 degrees here.
It is officially summer, as I'm sure Wendy, shout out to Wendy. I don't know what it's like in Elgin, Illinois, but it is officially summer. Wendy, let us know what it's like where you are. And what that means is, guys, it's summer camp season. Summer camp season is here. I feel like we spend so much time in the spring talking about summer camp season's coming. Summer camp season's coming. It's now here. So Angelique had a great idea. We're going to spend today's show about the next 30 minutes or so talking about all things summer camp related. Some of my friends are at summer camp right now. Angelique, you're leaving shortly?
Yeah, so my troop is at summer camp right now. I'm going to head back out. I live about 10 minutes, not even, from my summer camp that my council owns. So I'm headed there after this. Next week, I'm going to summer camp. The week after that, I'm going to summer camp. I'm all about summer camp.
That sounds like summer camp. Angelique came up with a lot of good topics for us to discuss today. Among them, why do we do summer camp, which I think is a great basic question. So feel free over the next 28 minutes here, guys, if you have any questions about summer camp, feel free to ask us. Shout out to, looks like MD, who's coming from Allentown, PA. I bet it's comfortable in Allentown. Maybe, I don't know. Let us know. Maybe it's not. Would love to know about that. Okay, so as we get started, summer camp is a big deal. And actually, I have another question for you, Angelique. I don't know if this is true. Maybe you can confirm this. Most scouts, Arrow of Light scouts, as they cross over into Boy Scouts, they do it in the spring. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of heard that maybe one of the reasons they did that is so they could be ready for summer camp that summer. Is that true?
Yeah. So ideally, when you have them cross over in early spring, then They get the chance to camp a couple times, hopefully with their troop, and learn some of those real basic camping skills. But then they are poised to jump right into the summer of summer camp. And summer camp is kind of one of those iconic parts of scouting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It teaches kids independence. They're practicing leadership skills that they are starting to learn in scouting with the patrol method. But it's fun. I mean, overall, it's fun. It's what keeps kids in scouting. They love camping, and they especially love summer camp and that little bit of freedom they get.
Yeah. My son's Scouts BSA troop, their leaders had the philosophy usually, like, if you can get those kids who just crossed over, if you can get them to summer camp there a few months later, they're going to stick around for a while, because it is, as you say, such a fun experience. And I saw it. You've seen it. I've seen it. Summer camp's been a scouting tradition, I think, pretty much since the beginning. Yeah. Maybe we could talk, Angelique, real quick. Again, kind of a basic question for the folks who don't know. What do you do at summer camp?
Oh my gosh, what don't you do at
what
summer
do you not
camp?
do? Yeah.
Summer camp is great. Summer camp, you're with your troop usually. Sometimes kids go, provisional where they're by themselves, but usually you're with your troop. And you spend the week doing all kinds of stuff. And it might be, some of your things are merit badges, where you're going to a merit badge class and you're getting hands-on experience in that merit badge. But a lot of it is also fun. There's activities, horseback riding, boating, water sports, all kinds of neat things to try for the first time. And then you've got like giant campfire shows, and you've got fun events. I know my camp does a Tiki Tuesday. So on Tuesday, everyone breaks out the Hawaiian gear, and there's a barbecue out by the lake. We have a pirate breakfast where they meet down by the water and they paddle across the lake and eat breakfast. So there's traditions every camp has that become like super meaningful to your scouts, and they'll remember it forever. So there's so much to do at summer camp.
Yeah, shout out to all the summer camp directors out there who are some of the most creative people that I know, right? They come up with all these themes, like you said, all these really cool things to keep kids engaged. Very, very fun. A few more quick shout outs if we could, Angelique. Hi, Stacy. Thank you for watching. Rusty is watching. Always appreciate Rusty joining us from Ohio. Tamara says she is ready for summer and summer camp. Troop 599 in Quartz Hill, California. They leave this Sunday. Now she got like 5 more days, Tamara. Wow, Camp Chobanaki on Shaver Lake. That sounds awesome. I'll see you there, Tamara. Does that sound good? I'll meet you guys there. That sounds like fun. You mentioned the wide variety of activities. Let's talk real quick about preparing for summer camp. Tamara, this might be good for you to know, and for anybody else, even if you're not going to summer camp till next year.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that buildup and what kind of skills, what kind of, both skills and also stuff. Like you need some stuff, right? Some supplies, some materials for summer camp. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, the first year that a kid goes to camp, it can be a little overwhelming for both the scout and for the parents, right? It's like, what do I need to be ready? What do I need to get? By the time the kids get older, and I have a 17 and 3/4-year-old son, my oldest, and I don't even have to tell him. He just knows what he needs. But for those new scouts who are brand new, it can be a little daunting. So hopefully your troop is helping prepare you by giving you a list what you need, particularly for your camp. But there's a few things that, as a troop leader myself, that I have found it's really important that families know ahead of time before camp. And one of those is to how to pack and how to practice packing and practice packing some of the equipment that they need. And then talking through the day, what their days are going to look like. So it's not scary and something that they don't know what's going to happen. So my biggest thing that I tell parents that are new, their scouts are new to staying at camp, is to make sure that the scout packs their own bag.
I was thinking the same thing, Angelique. Yes, I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, because it is not, we're not saying that you shouldn't be involved. We're saying make sure the scout packs their own bag, because if you have the list and you have them lay it all out on their bed or on the floor, you can check and say, okay, you're good. But guess what? You forgot all your socks. Mm-hmm. For my older scout, I'm going to let them perhaps deal with those consequences. But for my 11-year-olds, this is the first time at camp. I want to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful. But they need to know what they have and where they put it. So I've had many times that first year scout who, has got the sopping wet socks. And they're saying, I don't have any more socks. I don't have any more socks. And have them dig through the bag. And guess what? They've got a whole big bag of socks that they didn't know was there because mom packed the bag or dad packed the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. My next tip is to have them practice setting up, if your camp does not provide tents, setting up their tent so they can do it on their own. And then the big one is the sleeping bag. Is practicing getting that sleeping bag back into its sack, because that is one I'm always there with that first year scout, like coaching them how to get it back in the bag. And the secret is you just shove it in the bag. You don't roll it up. You just stuff it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
mm-hmm.
Those are some like practical skills and practical things that you can work with your scouts to be ready for. But some of the more things in the head are just walking them through what a day at camp is going to look like. And that can help if you're not sure. You ask the scoutmaster or scoutmasters to talk through with the kids what that day is going to look like, or the SPL talk through it. Because sometimes just knowing what the days our activities are and having that plan, especially for kids who are neurodivergent, having that plan in their head of what the day is going to look like will be a lot less scary once they get there.
Yeah, I think that probably every summer, my guess is that thousands and thousands of pairs of unused socks, perfectly clean, packed socks and underwear, yes, come home from camp, yes, along with a scout who is filthy and disgusting and claimed right to not have clean socks. So
yes, boy, and toothpaste. And
yes,
soap.
Exactly. That's a huge thing. Advice. Help your child pack, but don't pack for them.
Right.
Make sure they pack themselves so they know where everything is. That's
right.
Great advice, Angelique. A shout out to Skylar, by the way, from Troop 35. Thank you for tuning in, Skylar. We appreciate it. So you talked about preparing kids for camp. We have a lot of adults who are going to summer camp for the first time right now. Maybe you could share some advice. When I went to summer camp with my son for the first time, I'm not going to lie, I was a little anxious. I had some anxiety. Yeah. What's your advice for adults, Angelique?
Oh gosh. So summer camp is fun for the adults too. Yep. It's really, you look at it as yes, you're in charge of a group of preteens and teenagers, and you have to make sure that they stay healthy and safe and alive, but it is also time for you to have camaraderie with other adults. There will be usually activities for the adults as well while the kids are in classes. Take advantage of those. That's where you're going to meet other people and kind of have a little fun yourself. But as far as practically getting ready for it, look at the lists, make sure you have the things, and then as an adult, bring some comfort objects. If you're going to be wrangling teenagers in the woods for a week, you sure want to make sure that your bed system that you've got set up is comfortable to sleep on, and that you've got, some comfort things like maybe a fan, those little things, a good coffee cup. Those little things make a big difference for a week at camp, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. One of my experiences with that was that I was responsible for getting kids to certain merit badge classes. What I enjoyed though was once they got there, once they were all in the class, I didn't have that much to do other than to make sure they didn't wander off. So that's when maybe you can get a book read or something like that. Some camps also offer training for adults, right?
They do. Yep. Yeah, like if you're lucky enough for your camp to have the training, sometimes you can check that off the list while you're there too. So the outdoor leadership for Scoutmasters, some camps offer that. Some offer re-ups on other things or other interesting things. The one thing to remember if you're doing that is if it's an all-day training, that there's still 2 adult leaders who can cover for you while you are in class. Because while, yes, it is nice to have time to yourself, you're still in charge of those kids. And so even during classes, sometimes I will make a loop around the camp, check up with where my scouts are, make sure they're where I think they are, make sure that they're having a good time and no one looks like they're feeling ill or whatever. And then I'll go back and I'll work on what needs to be done or, have my little book time or whatever. But so if you are taking those classes, make sure you still have enough adult coverage.
Ashley says, right. I think she's responding to all the clean clothes that sometimes come home with a scout who didn't pack their own bag. It happens. Another thing that happens a lot at camp, and again, I saw this firsthand, is homesickness. Some of the younger scouts, it's their first time at summer camp. It's their first time maybe away from home other than a family vacation, which is, you've got the whole family on a vacation, right? My son, I'll just tell the story real quick. Angelique, the first night at camp, we get there, and immediately my anxiety was kind of soothed by realizing how well organized everything was and how safe everything was. With my son, it was just the opposite. When it got dark, he got a little bit freaked out. He's at work right now, so he's not watching. So I can tell the story about him coming to my tent in the middle of the night, asking to go home. We call that, there's a word for that, folks. It's called homesickness. Angelique,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on how we handle that?
So that's something pretty much, you take kids to camp, you're going to experience pretty much every time you're at camp. Hopefully, if you've had some practice, you're an adult who knows how to handle it. But if you're new to the troop, that's okay.
Yep.
There are a few things that we can do to make sure that we know how to handle kids who are experiencing homesickness. The first thing that I recommend to parents is, phones are a touchy issue. Some parents really want their kids to have their phone with them. Some troops are pro phone. Some troops are, not. And I just like to remind my parents, if they have a direct line to contact you, they're going to beg you when they're homesick to come home, and you're going to feel really bad about it. And it's going to make things harder. And from, many years of experience, that phone is going to make homesickness actually harder because they're not immersing themselves as much in the activities. So I recommend those first year scouts that they not have that phone with them just for that reason alone. That being said, there are other things that we can do. It's great to send letters. Don't focus on, I can't wait till you get home. Like, I can't wait to hear all about, all the activities that you're doing. Here's some treats to share with your friends that I've sent in the mail. Those are great things to send ahead of time so that the kids are excited. But my most favorite thing to do is homesickness, I have found, usually happens on Wednesday. So that's after the first initial couple days of camp. They're tired. They haven't been sleeping much. They've been very, very busy. So Wednesday night, when everyone's starting to get a little down, is when I break out my treats that I've brought with. And they could be the wackier, the better. I will go to my local candy shop and rate it for all the weirdest candy that I can find. Or I'll find the light up hats and the light up glasses. And those are the things that I break out on Wednesday when homesickness is most likely to strike. My favorite was I brought candy slide whistles. We had a candy slide whistle orchestra on a Wednesday night, and that helps break up the homesickness quite a bit. And then that's down at the bottom.
Yes. If you're interested in learning more about homesickness, check on that link right there, guys. A lot of good information there, how to be helpful. Angelique had some good advice there. It's so funny you say that about Wednesday night, because we had a scout, I remember, around Wednesday night, got homesick, and they made the decision to let him call his mom. And as soon as he got on the phone with his mom, just the tears just started gushing. Maybe that wasn't the right call. Who knows? He ended up doing great. He had a wonderful time. It's tough. I mean, it's a tough call to make, because you can get letters and things like that. There's a line there somewhere, right? You don't want them to be on the phone every single day with their mom or something like that, or whoever's at home. But at the same time, it's nice to get letters. It's nice to know that, there's still some contact there. So it's a judgment call. It's not easy, but there is some good information at that link that we just showed there about how to handle homesickness. And I think that ultimately, it's funny. Maybe it's cliche to say it's character building, but it is. These scouts, you'll notice it. So Angelique, you said earlier your son is now 17 and a half or 3/4 or whatever. I noticed a change in my son in the 4 or 5 days we were at summer camp. I mean, Independence started off crying that first night homesick. By day 4 or 5, he's like, "Do we have to go, Dad?"
Yeah.
So I think you'll notice, if you notice things like that too, Angelique.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really funny to me too. Sometimes the kids that were most nervous at their first year of summer camp, the next year, the second year of summer camp, they are the most enthusiastic. Yep. Bring it on. Let's do it. I'm so excited for summer camp. I know one of the girls in my girls troop, she didn't want to come back. She was really nervous about being away. That was the longest she'd ever been away from parents. The next year, she was totally like on board with all of it and wanted to go to a second week. So they can surprise you. They can be really sad and really upset at first and uncomfortable, but by the end of the week, they are like a different kid when they come home. And I for sure have seen it with my own kids.
Now, I've heard so many stories about moms and dads who, when their kids come back from camp and maybe they meet at the charting organization to pick them up right there, and they don't even recognize the kid when he gets off the bus.
Yes.
Rusty says, when he was a scout, I can honestly say I was homesick at camp. My best friend was the payphone at the admin building. Rusty, you're aging yourself a little bit there, but I'm right there with you. That's perfect. Wendy shares a funny story that once the devices were confiscated, phones got confiscated, that homesickness actually went down when they found that. So that's kind of like what you were saying. A lot of parents want their kids to have phones, understandably so, but in some cases, better if they don't.
Sometimes, just not the constant reminder that they're away helps them helps them immerse and enjoy.
Yeah, Wendy says that this year the camp they're going to says they don't allow phones, and she says they think that's a good thing. So those are things you can find out. Obviously, when you're trying to decide which camp to go to, you can find out rules and things like that. Choose the one that's right for you. One of the reasons that maybe some parents have some anxiety if you've never sent your child off to summer camp before, and if you're not going, you of course want to make sure that your child is going to be safe. So let's talk about that, Angelique. What are the sort of rules and systems we have in place at Scouts BSA summer camps to make sure everybody has a safe, fun time?
Sure. So there are a bunch of things, and one of the biggest things. I mean, there are two big things. The camps are inspected and they have to follow really, it's called NCAP, and it's a really robust set of guidelines that have to be followed for the camp to be certified. So you're wanting to look for that certified camp to be safe for your kids. And that means things like the buddy system are enforced. And in scouting, we have the buddy system, meaning no scout should ever be by themselves. And this includes at summer camp. So your scout's buddy, they can switch. Depending on your troop's culture, they may be switching buddies while they're there, but they have a buddy to get around camp so that they're not wandering camp by themselves. And so that's a big one. The other thing is being comfortable with your adult leadership that's taking your kids to scouting. Your adults, your scoutmasters, assistant scoutmasters, or whomever is that registered adult leader who's had that background check through BSA and is accompanying your scout. they're responsible for making sure, along with the camp staff, that your scouts are where they're supposed to be and that they're making good choices. And we joke a lot online about how the scoutmaster is taking their nap, and that's what they do at summer camp, but that's not really true. Scoutmasters and assistant scoutmasters who are there with your kids, we're watching everything. We're around the camp. We're following your kids. We're noticing who doesn't feel well or who's not having a good time. We're trying to address that. So we joke a lot about having our coffee, and that's what we do, but we're there to make sure that your kids are safe and having that good time.
Yeah, I went with my son to 2 different camps in 2 different states, and it was remarkable how similar they were.
Right.
And the reason why is because there's a thing called camp standards, right?
Yes.
And there's a camp accreditation,
yes.
and they're all, every single BSA camp goes through it. It wouldn't exist. Yeah. It wouldn't be open. You wouldn't be there if they didn't. Right. And it covers things like Angelique said, safety measures and all these things like that are in place. You know, when you send kids to camp, there's going to be skinned knees, right? There's going to be some minor cuts and bruises. There's going to be homesickness. These camps are trained to handle that kind of thing. And I'll share a story real quick. When I went to camp one time, we were settling in for dinner. And this was a camp that offered ATVs. And we weren't participating in the ATV program, but one of our scouts was fascinated by the ATVs. And so this scout took the opportunity to just go check him out. Why not? Slipped away from his buddy, went to go check out the ATVs. And I mean, it was like, you know, everybody knew exactly what to do, right? And so the scout was missing. I mean, he was about 100 feet away in the ATV barn or whatever. Right. But I mean, within just minutes, he was found, he was located, he was brought back. We had a talk with him and his buddy about, why we don't do this. Your kids are in good hands was my impression. Don't you think, Angelique?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we have the camp standards. So that there are already things in place that we know how to deal with any situation that occurs in the camp. There's a standard. Everyone knows what it is. There's a procedure, what's going to happen to make sure that the best care is taken of the kids. So that is a major part of those camp standards. And even things like making sure your kids get full nutritious meals. Yes. And things like making sure the camp staff, doctor or nurse, has the right certifications. And those are all really important components. And that's why I personally feel really good about sending my kids to summer camp with BSA.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of sending your kids to summer camp, Angelique, you shared a photo with us. I'm gonna ask behind the scenes Brian to maybe throw that up real quick. It's a photo. There's Angelique with a couple of Scouts BSA sons there.
Yes,
hey, good looking husband, by the way. This was, you said, a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, this one. So the fun part is, I always make my kids line up in front of the troop trailer and take your picture. But we thought to do a selfie 2 years ago, and we've never repeated it since. So I have this one from 2 years ago. We were all going to camp the same week at the same place. Like I mentioned, I have a troop of girls too, so I often am going to camp with the girls. Just happened this last year, 2 years, we all went to the same camp at the same time, and got this wonderful memento of a picture. But yes, we all go to camp in the summer.
That's very, very cool. And it's evidence that, Scouts BSA camp can be, if you want it to be, a family type experience. Both mom and dad went on this one. That's great. Yeah, I could never get my wife to go, Angelique. We'll have to have a conversation about that. One of the things, speaking of safety, it extends to every area of camp, every activity. And I want to touch real quick on aquatics because depending on where you live, at our camps, the aquatics area, the lake was the most popular place to be during free time, during open swim areas. Everybody went there. Maybe we could just touch on aquatic safety real quick, Angelique.
Sure.
There's different, Scouts are classified. Let's maybe talk about first different swimming abilities. Sure. Things like that. Can we talk about how that works?
So any camp that has a swimming, whether it's in a lake or in a pool, the kids have to pass a swim test when they get to camp. And there's non-swimmer and there's beginner and there's swimmer. And the swim test is fairly challenging. The kids really have to be able to demonstrate that they can swim to go in different sections. So this is usually something that kids who are newer to scouting, they think, oh, I can swim. Why do I have to do this? This seems like a lot of work. There's a lot of steps involved. But it's really important that we use the swim system, and it's how we keep kids safe in the water. Swimming is a huge part of the scouting experience. And one of the things we can do to make kids more comfortable with the process of the swim test is to practice it as a troop, to go to a pool and to see how they can do with the swim test ahead of time. So depending on the camp, they may have to retake the swim test once they get there, but they'll have had practice. They know what they feel comfortable accomplishing, and they can just go for it. So practicing ahead of time for sure. The buddy system extends into the water, meaning they have to have a buddy when they're swimming. But it's not anything to get really scared of, because the camp staff will explain it all to the kids when they get there. But that practice definitely helps.
And I think that, the system that's set up at these scout camps, the swimming area, probably safer than your average neighborhood swimming pool, really, with the amount of supervision, the trained lifeguards that are there, the different categories of swimmers. A very, very safe experience.
Yes.
I remember when we went, when we had some afternoon thunderstorms that are common in lots of parts of the country. They shut everything down if there's lightning in the area and you have to wait. That can be frustrating, but it's for a good reason, obviously, right?
Yes.
And those safety measures, that kind of safety measures extends through all parts of the camp: shooting sports, archery, whatever you're doing, whatever program it is, hiking, biking. Some of them have cycling. All that extends. You can rest assured that your kids are in good hands. We have just a few more minutes with Angelique. Any more topics we need to touch on before we end today's show?
Gosh, I think we covered all the things. But you know what I did want to tell you about? You have most likely a camp near you that your council owns, and I want you to encourage you to check it out. Your council's camp, that's part of your council. That's part of what the funding of your council helps support. It belongs to you. No matter what council you're in, that belongs to everything from the Cub Scouts on up to Scouts BSA to the Ventures. That's your camp. They are incredibly short-handed right now. Camp staff, they're having a hard time getting people who come to work to camp. Go support them. If you can give up an afternoon and go help them out with a merit badge, or helping clean out bathrooms or whatever, your camp staff probably could use your help. And I want to encourage troops to visit your local council camp and check them out. It may, especially if it's been a couple of years since you've been there, because it's your camp, and take care of it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Angelique. Working at summer camp is a great job for young people or people of any age, really. I was actually at a summer camp one time, the very last week of the camp. We were the last people in that camp. So when we left, the camp closed down, and I saw the looks on the faces of the camp staffers, old and young, as they were saying goodbye to each other. It was heartbreaking, Angelique. Some of them were in tears. So
that's something to remember. That camp staff that, you might, as an adult, you might get frustrated with, or because they might not know the answer. They're kids most of the time. They're kids who they're still in Scouts BSA, or they're just out of Scouts BSA. They've given up their whole summer to come staff that camp because they love that camp and they want to be a part of it. So be patient with them. We know they're 18, 17, 18, 19 years old. Be patient with them, encourage them. That's their scouting home. And we need to support them as much as we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Angelique, what a great show as usual. Thank you for coming up with this topic today. We hope you all have a good summer and a good summer camp experience. We will be back with another episode of Troop Talk Live next month. By next month, a lot of you will maybe be home from summer camp. So we'd love to hear from you then. Good job, Angelique. Always good to see you as well.
Good to see you too.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody have a good day. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Angelique.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Drink water and have